Alrighty, today's second review is going to be Mandalorian and Grogu, which I gave a 9 out of 10 to. I feel like this was just a perfect way to end this story. Now, again, I feel like they could do seasons of other shows and have the Mandalorian in it, but I just feel like with the original idea, I do believe the original idea was to do 10 seasons of this show, and I feel like eventually that probably would have made the show a little bit stale. Like most good shows, I feel, I've probably said this before, but last 4 to 5 seasons at best, and then they end because yeah, a good show, I feel like if you just drag it on any longer than that, it kind of becomes a little stale. Just because maybe not necessarily, maybe you just run out of story, or we've just kind of seen the same thing too many times over and over and over again, and eventually, yeah, people just stop viewing. And I feel like, yeah, I feel like a good show lasts 4 to 5 seasons. It kind of just shows, like even with The Boys, 5 seasons. I haven't watched the fifth season yet, but I'm really looking forward to sitting down and watching it when I get to it. Because that show has just been phenomenal through and through, as far as I'm concerned. And even the Witcher season 4, I thoroughly enjoyed that. Like even though it's not Henry Cavill playing the part anymore, I know I've heard a lot of stuff about it not being like the books or the games and so on and so forth. But yeah, I've enjoyed the show so far as well. Um, Now I know it was supposed to be originally 7 seasons, and again that's again I feel like they cut it off. They're gonna make a fifth season. It's gonna be kind of like a perfect length show for something like that. Anyway. Um, so, but now I've kind of rambled. So today we're talking about the Mandalorian and Grogu. So we'll go over the cast list, which was actually kind of small for uh, for such a big film, or at least it seemed that way. Now, obviously, there were characters in it that were kind of like secondary, so I didn't write those down. I kind of just try to focus on like the main ones or the ones that stuck out the most. Uh, so we had obviously Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian, Sigourney Weaver as Colonel Ward, Steve Blum as Zeb Orelios. I want to say is how you pronounce that. So again, he was like part of Mando's crew. Jeremy Allen White was Rada the Hutt. Johnny Coyne, who was Lord Janu, and then Hemke Madera, who played Commander Barrow. So at this point, it seems like the Mandalorian is working for the New Republic at this point, and it seems like they kind of had their hands in some pretty shady characters, including the Hutt twins, and they kind of just take on. It seems like at this point, Mando's just kind of taking on whatever contract he can, um, just to make some extra money, and obviously he just has no problem taking out anybody who works for the Empire, right? And that shows the very opening scene when he takes out Commander Barrow, who was now he's obviously trying to bring the Empire back to what it was when like Darth Vader and all of those guys were there. It kind of seems like they're still serving under that whole like they're gonna bring back the Empire to like its former glory sort of thing, which is obviously not something you want to have happen because there's still enough, I would say, probably powerful Sith out there, even so, at this point, that could definitely have an impact on like the Republic and everybody else, big enough that they could probably do that if they could find the certain people that they needed to find, right? So Mando takes him out, but oh my god, what a scene that was. Just absolutely, like, he was just like a one-man army. And I know at this point, if you've watched the show, that he's kind of like just come into his own and become like a complete all-round warrior. So seeing him just almost be untouchable at this point doesn't even seem that impossible, really. Just because, yeah, all of the stuff he's gone through already is just absolutely insane. So he, of course, doesn't bring in the commander alive, that's for sure. Um, and of course, I guess he was supposed to, because it seemed like Colonel Ward wasn't very happy with him when he got back. which is to be expected if you were supposed to bring in. But oh my god, just the way he took down like all three AT&T walkers was just absolutely crazy. Um, that is what they're called, right? The AT. Or am I thinking of something else? I believe they're called AT&T walkers. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm saying that right. Oh my god, I guess I should have maybe looked that up. Anyway, when he takes down the walkers at the very beginning, it was just absolutely insane. Like, just him blowing up the one leg, and then, like, walking on the roof of the other one and blowing it up, and then at the very end, just the bombs that Barl left on the third one, and then him shooting down his little escape pod ship. Just an absolutely insane scene, and then even them running down the mountain. Just, yeah, that whole scene was just absolutely crazy. And then, of course, when he gets back, he's given, like, this other coin from this unidentified man. We don't really know who he is, but we know that the Hutt twins, or at least, yeah, I believe it was, yeah, the Hutt twins are looking for their cousin? Yeah, their cousin, Rada. And so Rada is the son of Jabba the Hutt, who has been, I believe has been killed at this point, right? So Rada seems to be fighting on the moon of Shikari, and of course the twins are going to point them in the right direction. Now, when, I guess, was it their cousin or nephew? Yeah, because I'm not sure. Yeah, were the Hutt twins the same age as Jabba, or were they younger than him? Oh, I can't remember. I think it was either their nephew or cousin. See, I'm trying to go off of memory from 2 nights ago. It's kind of bugging me that I can't remember exactly who, like, what Rada was connected to them. It was either nephew or cousin. Anyway, when he went missing, he was a lot younger, or I guess when he was kidnapped, he was a lot younger anyway. But now he's older, and he's fighting in the pits, and I guess he's fighting under Janu, or Lord Janu. And of course, it come to find out after they get a hold of Rada to bring him back to the twins, that the actual guy, the unidentified guy he's looking for, is actually Lord Janu himself. So he brings in Lord Janu to Colonel Ward, and of course he says that he wants to take a break after that because things got a little messy. And of course, you know, it was supposed to be Rada that he brought back in to it was supposed to be Rada that he brought back in, obviously, to the Colonel, and of course, you know, that's not what he did. He brought back in the bigger prize in order to keep Rada safe, and then he's trying to protect Rada, make sure that Rada's never on his list again. So he, helps Rada, I guess, off planet. But of course, unfortunately, Rada gets captured somewhere along the way. And then eventually they bring in the Mandalorian too, back to Nalhada. that was the name of the planet they lived on. So yeah, they bring him back there, and of course they throw him in like this giant pit with this huge dragon snake, and that fight was just absolutely epic. Now, I don't know all of the creatures' names in this movie, unfortunately, and yeah, there was quite a lot of them that I don't think I'd ever seen before, so I really do think I have to go back into like look at it more into like my Mandalorian lore for sure, because that whole story has just been absolutely cool from beginning to end, for sure, and just a lot of cool characters that he meets along the way, including Boba Fett. I'm really hoping they do another season of the Book of Boba Fett. I think having him in that show would just work. I don't think they should do another season of The Mandalorian, but if they did another season of the Book of Boba Fett, they could easily have him in it, and even Ahsoka, like, he's connected with Ahsoka too, so they could have the Mandalorian do cameos in that show. I think that would just be cool. Like, have one or two, like, random spin-off episodes of just about the Mandalorian on one of those shows would be cool, just to see a little bit more of his story, obviously. So, he has that fight and unfortunately gets bit by the snake, and of course, you know, we think that he's probably going to get killed, by the poison, and so far in this movie, it's all been kind of like the Mandalorian story, right? Like Grogu's just kind of been there up until the point where Mando gets captured, and then he has to come in and save him instead. So it really does show like just how smart Grogu has become over the time that he's been with the Mandalorian, um, and just how much he's grown in a very short time. Now, obviously, um, the the species that Grogu is lives for, I don't know, like hundreds of years, right? Unless he's killed. And I don't think that's going to happen because, if I'm not mistaken, um, Mando's kind of made him a Mandalorian himself, but also like taught him the ways of the Jedi a bit too with Ahsoka. So kind of crazy that, and I think that definitely goes against the rules, right? Now, of course, when he goes to the back to the Hutt twins and they take off his helmet, he has to kill them all, right? Because they've seen his face, and that is very much against the Mandalorian code. um, so yeah, uh, he ends up he ends up obviously coming back after Grogu heals him, which is just insane to see. Now he says to Grogu, like, leave on this ship, don't come back, like I'll hold them off, sort of thing. And he thinks that Grogu has left. So, but eventually, the poison gets to him, and I thought the Mandalorian is going to pass away. It would have been a fitting ending for that character. To be fair, it would have been a fitting ending if he had have just saved Grogu, and unfortunately gotten poisoned and then passed away, just kind of going out on a shield. Like that would have been a pretty epic ending for that character, I think. Um, Now, obviously, Grogu, they had to show some sort of part for Grogu, right, with his strengths, just helping the Mandalorian out and healing him. Um, and the assassin that was after Mandalorian, the battle that they had at the very end of the movie was just absolutely insane too. And then, of course, obviously, the new, the new Republic coming in and saving the day and blowing up like that whole fortress that the Hutts were in was epic. So yeah, um, just all around, just a very like cool movie and just a cool story. It felt like one really long mission for the Mandalorian, but it was just like an epic 2-hour adventure movie. Like that's just what it felt like. And I know there were obviously two missions in the movie, but the first mission seemed pretty quick. And then, of course, it kind of showed that he can also, like, he also has his own weaknesses too. Um, and, like, obviously, usually, I think beforehand, he wouldn't have even cared, right? That Rada had been captured by the Hutt twins and was being tortured. Like, I think he would have probably just let that slide, and he would have just killed them and left Rada to rot beforehand. But it seems like he's kind of become a little bit more selfless as the show went on, and even in the movie, it kind of shows that he's definitely had like a change of heart compared to like how most Mandalorians would have done it, right? Because they're supposed to be they're supposed to be like just their own kind, right? And even before he's lost his mask, right? He's had to go like venture to like these sacred waters in order to like clear himself again and become a Mandalorian once again. So it's crazy how like strict their code is, right? Like the whole "this is the way" thing, like they have to follow that to a T. They can't even go off the path a little bit, or you're like banished from being a Mandalorian, which is just absolutely insane. Um, so yeah, crazy to think about. But anyway, the only two like the only two things bad I can say about this movie is that a lot of the scenes seemed quite like darkly lit, and sometimes it was hard to see things, and uh, the like hyperspeed jump animations were a little sloppy at times. But I mean, other than that, the music was great. Musical scores were great as always. Like I think the Mandalorian show has some of my favorite Star Wars musical scores besides Duel of the Fates, which is Darth Maul's. Like that these songs just stand out more to me than any other Star Wars show or movie I've seen. Uh, Obviously, like the Duel of the Fates one, it's just stuck in your head no matter what. That whole scene between Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and uh, Darth Maul, I don't think I'll ever forget. Just seeing that as a kid was just absolutely insane. And as far as Star Wars movies go, we obviously know that the originals are the best, the prequels, and then the new ones. I still enjoy them, but they're not nearly as good as like the first two sets of Star Wars movies. Now, we'll see where the next set goes because there are apparently going to be more. So I guess we'll see where this goes. Now, obviously, it's Star Wars, so I'm going to go see it in theaters because I want to see every bit of Star Wars that I can. I'm just a Star Wars fan, so yeah. Anyhow, I think I've covered everything I can. Uh, but yeah, obviously the Mandalorian lives, and yeah, him and Grogu are going to be sticking together clearly, and now Rada is free to kind of do whatever he wants, right? He doesn't have to try to live under somebody else's shadow or fight in any pits or owe any debts to anybody, but he didn't want to be like his father, I guess. He kind of wanted to be his own man, so it makes sense that he was trying to make a name for himself. And I guess when he first got to Shikari, nobody liked him because of the name he had, and then as he grew in popularity in the pit fights, yeah, everybody started to love him. And then, of course, Janu was there to kill him, sacrifice him in his final fight because I don't think he wants anybody to have freedom. And then, of course, all the creatures escape and start going rampant around town. And I was like, oh my god, this is just absolute chaos. Like he thought he could control this somehow. um, but yeah, an all around really good movie. And like I said, the only two things were um, the lighting in some of the scenes and yeah, the hyper jump animations. But other than that, yeah, Jon Favreau just does a fantastic job with these movies and the show. And I know he wasn't like everybody kind of directed their own episodes, so each episode, like even in the show, felt fresh. So again, this just felt like a really long episode, but yeah, such an epic adventure movie. And yeah, you got to go see it in theaters. And I would say that if I was going to go back and see it a second time, I would probably see it in the D box seats because it was supposed to be a D box movie. Some of those scenes just were probably super epic in the D box. Now there were a couple jump scares in this movie. I guess I will put that as a warning right here at the end of my review. So if you're if you're easily scared, you probably will jump a couple times in this movie because even some of them that I was like you're looking at the screen, you're like, what is that? And then it jumps out at you. I'm like, oh my god. Even I jumped a couple times at stuff that I probably shouldn't have even jumped at, but it's just unexpected timing, right? That makes you jump a little bit. But I'm all for that. Makes you know you're still alive, right? So anyway, yeah, that's it for this review. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.